Hold on. Marcus, you don't take your butt outside and drill that ball in the
Block Creek, welcome to all ball. Format unique, all access for all y'all. What the spiel like back full of elite athletes that wanna teach and it speaks to the streets, so it feel right. Marcus Liberty, a legend on and off the court to give you what you need. Robert Reed is your co-host. Go. Yeah. Like and subscribe and follow like a crossover. Never know when might fall through this bitch tomorrow. So all ball Chicago. All ball Chicago. All ball Chicago. All I know is all ball Chicago. All ball Chicago. All ball Chicago. All ball Chicago. All I know is all ball Chicago.
Welcome to another edition of All Ball Chicago. I'm your co-host, Robert Bobby Reed, and I got the legend, the NBA veteran, the McDonald All-American, your host, Marcus, living in the building. What's up, Marcus?
What's up, my beautiful people?
Oh, it's all good, man. It feels good to be back, man. Feels good to be back, man.
I bet it is, man. And it's a great day. We got a special guest who's going to come on and join us soon. But how has Chicago been treating Robert Bobby Reed?
Chicago's been good, man. The weather's breaking. It's getting nice outside, so we can get outside now, like y'all in Florida.
That's right. It's a beautiful day here, man. And also, man, it's just a lot of things have been going on. I know you've been watching, television and watching my main man, Russell Westbrook, Mr. Triple Double, do his thing, man. I mean, he's doing his thing. You can't do nothing but give him props, man. Go ahead and induct him into the Hall of Fame now, man.
Right. I agree with Marcus. And people give him a bad rap. But if you think about it, he's never played for a Hall of Fame coach. He never been on one of those teams that was loaded. When he got on OKC, they was young. Put him in Golden State and take Steph out of there. They win the title. Put him in LA, take Rondo out of there. They won the title. You see what I'm saying? Like they give him a bad rap.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, it could be because of, people look at his demeanor. He's always looking tough and he's not smiling a lot on that basketball court. He's going at you. And I think sometimes people look at that as, a bad thing. I don't look at it as a bad thing. I think he had a chip on his shoulder when he went out, got drafted and put his name in the draft when he was at UCLA. And he just felt like he never gets his just due. And here it is. He's still doing the same thing. I mean, he's gotten a little quicker and a little bit more explosive. He came into the league. He came into the league as a defensive player, and look what he's doing.
Yeah, man, it's amazing what he's been able to accomplish, man. And he's an analytics killer because they don't like the fact that he shoots all mid-range shots. They hate it. But look what he's been able to accomplish. He plays the old school style of basketball, don't he? He don't care.
No, he's doing it, man. You got to give him his just due. And I think his peers. You say what?
Would you say he the most explosive point guard ever?
He's got to be up there, man. And he's what, 6'4"?
Right.
A point guard, 6'4", explosive, has a lot of explosiveness. Has the court vision to make those passes, and he's going in there getting those rebounds. He's getting tough rebounds. He's getting rebounds that you would think of a center or a power forward would be getting.
Right. He's getting 20 rebounds a night, bro. I see people eating them alive on social media, man. Just like they eat LeBron alive. And I just you just can't please people, man. You can't please them, right?
You can't. I mean, it's like you said, there's some people that don't like LeBron James. There's some people that don't like Russell. There's some people that didn't like Michael Jordan. There's some people that didn't like Kobe Bryant. It's just your preference of players who you choose to like, and I think that's what's going on with Russell right now. A lot of people don't want to give him his just due because I don't like him, But he's averaging a triple double, And is this his third year doing it or something like that? It's like his third year averaging a triple double.
Yeah, Yeah,
So,
I like Russ, man. I like Russ, man.
so
He's the deal.
I have to give him his I have to give him his just due, man, because that's some unbelievable stuff. You can it's some I played basketball for a very long time, and I never got a triple double, not one.
Not even close.
You
Not
know?
even close.
No, man, dude, come on, that stuff is hard. You know, it's hard, and
Right.
people don't give people they just do, man. It's hard to get those triple doubles.
Yeah, man. What you think about what Steph Curry's doing right now, though? He's going crazy too, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way he's shooting the ball, uh, he should be. I mean, both of them. Russell should be mentioned as the MVP of the league. The things that he's doing. Russell, should be mentioned in the things that he's doing. I mean, I'm not taking nothing away from Joel Embiid. He's balling too. But man, you have to throw Russell's name in that mix, man.
They want to give it to the big guy though over there in Denver. What's the big guy name? Is he in Denver?
Jokic.
Yeah, they want to give it to him though. They say he'll be the worst MVP ever if they give it to him.
That's what they said.
Yeah, that's what they said. He'll be the worst ever since. Let me ask you this though, Liv. There's been a lot of injuries in the NBA this past season. Would you attribute that to coming back too soon or the pace of play?
You know what, Bob? It could be a little bit of both, man, because they just finished the championship, what, 3 or 4 months, 4 months ago, and look what happened. These guys are back playing again. So yeah, they probably didn't get enough time to get their bodies and to recover and all that. So it took them a while. So yeah, I think that plays a part in it.
What's the wear and tear like on the body in the NBA? You played. What was that like, man, in the season? Y'all be dog tired, man, after the season? How does that work? How does it feel?
Yes, man. It's a grind, man. If you really want to be great at something, you're working out, constantly in the summertime. Then when the season starts, you're working out and you're practicing, trying to get better. And if you're not playing the minutes, you still got to, force yourself to keep up with the game a little bit, because if you're not, then you can not play and then you'll be out of the league. So yeah, man, it's hard. It's hard, Bob. It's hard, man. And I give a lot of credit to those guys that's playing in the NBA, man. And to do this like the way they doing it with the COVID situation when he's going through the pandemic, and now that they playing back to back pretty much,
Right.
So man, it's tough, man. I think we got our guest coming on, man. I think we have our guest coming on. So let's bring him on in. There we go.
Good afternoon.
We got our special guest.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Arne Duncan, man, the former secretary of schools in Illinois. I mean, let's give it up to Mr. Arne Duncan over the world, man. I usually do the intro, but we got started before you came, man.
Keep rolling. No, I don't need the intro. Let's just talk.
All right. I was gonna say your greatest attribute was playing in the Celebrity All-Star game, right? No, I'm just kidding.
That wasn't real basketball. You all know better than that.
But okay, since Bob then brought that up, we might as well talk about it. So, Arne, you are on the basketball court with Snoop Doggy Dogg. How was that, man? Did you look at him like, man, come on, there's no way you can guard me?
Well, you guys know this. Every rapper wants to be a baller, and every baller wants to be a rapper. So.
That's right. But
play a little bit. He was okay. He was okay. So yeah.
Okay.
Fun. Yeah, different world. Different. Took my kids to those games. Obviously, a totally different world than how I grew up. So it's fun for them just to be in that environment. And nobody cares in the world, but I went 5-0. I went undefeated in those games, and nobody else was playing to win. But I'm competitive, so I'm trying to win every time.
Oh boy. Hey, but do you remember, Ernie? Do you remember you was in the post and you did a sweet Magic Johnson pass? Who was that pass to?
Yeah, it's funny. You got to good memory. So the only people who can play real are the women, and that was the Skylar Diggins. And so playing with her, Swin Cash, Elena Deladon, Tamika Catchings, I love. It's sort of funny. I grew up playing with her dad, and then playing with her. So 2 generations of Catchings. But that honestly, that's who's fun to play in those games is the women because they're in shape and they can play. So that was Skylar Cutton. That was all her.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember, man, because anytime I see anybody playing basketball, whether it's on the streets, on television, and they from Chicago, my eyes are glued. Even when, not Snoop, Ice Cube did the big 3.
Yeah.
When Chicago kids were playing, I'm watching, because I just love Chicago basketball. So thinking of Chicago basketball, Arne, who put the basketball in your hands growing up?
Well, love watching you, your brother, that whole crew. You guys are a little bit younger, but it's grew up going to my mother's after school program at 46 in Greenwood, and it's funny to sort of tell these stories now. But when we were real little, we played kick baseball in the gym. I don't know why, but we played kick baseball. And you kicked it on the stage. That was a home run. We did that for years, and then at some point, I was probably 9 or 10 or 11. We stopped playing kick baseball and started playing basketball, and that's where I got my love for it and had a basket in the alley behind our house and, played there. And then, 14, 15 started to, take the CTA. And if you wanted to be a good player, you had to go find the good players and go to the court. So just, going everywhere, South and West Sides. And it was a amazing time. And you think back on that time and how special it was and how lucky I was to have all those experiences. And I always say it, it's true probably for all of us that I was lucky to go to some great schools, but the basketball court was my greatest classroom, and just you learn so much and so much about life, so much about people's characters, playing. But just to grow up at that time and YVI and all of that stuff, it was so lucky. Summer leagues, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had some guests come on. Mark Aguirre been on here, and we talked about his upbringing and who put the basketball in his hands and what was it like, staying home in Chicago when, most people go off somewhere else. Now, you, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure your parents were big on not just you playing the sport, but the education was so important. You had an opportunity to go play at a prestigious university, Harvard, and get your education and play basketball. A lot of people don't think like that. They just want to go play basketball. But when you get recruited, if you're being recruited by an Ivy League school, I tell kids this all the time. If you got the grades and you're getting recruited by an Ivy League school, take it.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, I'll answer that. I'll tell you my one quick Mark Aguirre story. You'll laugh at this one, but it was summer league, and this is way back in the day. This may actually been at Triton, and this was a bunch of us coming out of high school. We're on a team. This is Sonny Cox was coaching. This was Reggie Woodward and Ephraim and that, and we're playing first game of summer league. It's halftime. We're playing Mark. We're playing Isaiah. And I don't know if we're up 4, it's tied or something. We're coming off at half court, and Reggie Woodward says something to Mark. And he just couldn't help himself. And then in the game, we lost by like 40. I'm like, Reggie, just be quiet.
Oh, wow.
Exuberance of youth, but that was our first game in the pro-am. Went from there, and it was at De La Salle, IT, Chicago State at Bounce. But that was the first summer after we all graduated from high school, and we thought we were doing okay. It was short lived, but no, so many stories. But no, to answer your question, it's interesting. I love to play. You love to play. You were a great player. I wasn't a great player. I just loved to play, and I went to. You may remember. AFB camp, Athletes for Better Education. And I went that summer between my junior and senior years. Kevin Duckworth and Andre Banks, that was that group. And I went, I was at the lab schools. It was an academic school. It wasn't a great, basketball school at all. That was, just it was what it was. I guess it was okay. And what they basically said to me there is that, you're not a pro. And at some level I knew that, and I still want to try and become a pro. But they said you have good grades, and you should try to go to a good academic school. And it's funny to say, but I honestly didn't have great guidance in terms of the college, process. And I didn't, you obviously you had everybody chasing you. I didn't have many people chasing me, but really decided to try and listen to that advice. And I'm so thankful for it, because it may seem like obvious, but it wasn't at that time obvious to me. And I don't know where I would have ended up. And so it focused me a little bit on trying to, play Division I basketball, but also get the best education possible. And obviously long term, that was the best thing I could have done, but it was a little bit lucky. Not as smart as I would have liked to have thought I was at the time. Just didn't really know the process, and frankly didn't have a whole lot of help from my high school.
Oh, okay. All right. That's now, who would win the game if you versus Barack?
Yeah,
we got to put it out there, man. We got to put it.
I always plead the fifth.
I'm going to say it, Ernie. I think you would have got Barack. I think but both of you guys are left-handed, right?
Both left-handed. The honest truth is that I don't think in fact, I know we've never played one-on-one. We played 2-on-2, 3-on-3, a ton of full court. But honestly, 98% of the time we were on the same team. And what I will say, again, these are all, this is a basketball podcast, so we'll tell basketball stories. So you go way back. The connection was really Michelle's older brother, Craig Robinson, who you may remember. So Craig played at Mount Carmel. Craig was a couple years older than I, and we grew up playing together. So Barack at first wasn't, President Barack was Craig's little sister's boyfriend. that's so we did what we do. We went out and played, and sort of that's a way that, you can't hide character on the court. It was a way to get to know him a little bit and sort of see what he was about. And so that was the initial connection. Now, obviously it grew from there, but it's that relationship started on the basketball court. So it's just interesting how interconnected all these things are. But he loved to play, and he played really hard. He was a great teammate. And what I will say is that, like I said, you can't fake your character. Basketball reveals character. And what I saw early on is he's got that nice smile, and he's the nicest guy in the world, and people see that. But I saw he's a competitor. Like he plays to win. He's not out there he's not going to score 40. He's not out there just to break a sweat and get a workout. He's playing to win. And real early on, when he was struggling in the primaries, when Hillary Clinton was beating him, and I knew how tough he was. And he doesn't come across as that that physical toughness, but he is very, very not just physically tough, but mentally tough. And so I knew when things were hard, how hard he would work, how much he would compete, how much he wanted to win. And that's, again, served him obviously extraordinarily well. And those lessons for him, those all came from growing up playing ball.
And I think it would have been hard to guard you too, man, on the court. Both of you guys are left-hand players. Left-hand players, to me, are the hardest players to play defense on.
Yeah, I'm a lefty too. Don't forget that, Liv.
That's right. 3 of you guys. That's right.
Too.
It's definitely an advantage. I had I was slow. I couldn't jump. I had lots of disadvantages, but I had good eyes, and I had long arms, and I was lefty. So I definitely had some non-traditional physical advantages, no question.
Yeah, and Ernie, we don't script anything over here, man. We go off the top. We don't write anything down. We talking basketball, so we should know what we're talking about. But I had a guy who's coaching. He's here in Sarasota, Florida with me. He is one of my travel ball team coaches, and didn't know who he was. Dick Vitale introduced me, and he came to one of my practices. And so I'm talking to him. I said, "Where you play, college ball?" And he said, "I played at Princeton." I said, "Oh yeah, I need to learn that Princeton offense, man. You got to show me that Princeton offense." So he started showing us the Princeton offense. And then I asked, "What year did he play in?" He said, 83. So I called him today. I said, "Do you remember a guy named Arne?" He said, "Yeah, Arne Duncan, secretary. Yeah, education. Yeah, I know who you're talking about." He said, "He might not like me that much because we always win the Ivy League, conference most of the time. But he said, no, Arne was a solid player. He remembered your game. He said he was a solid player, hard nosed, type player, played great defense." He said, but he just couldn't really give. Do you remember the game? He said it was a fight, I think, broke out. I think it was at your guys' arena.
No. He's telling stories. Who is this? Would you remember his name?
His name is John Smith.
Okay, I remember that a little bit, but that was Coach Thompson, John Thompson's son, played there. I played against him. Actually, just he's with the Wizards now, and did a thing with him. But I'll tell you, yeah, lots of stories here. So we talked about Craig Robinson played at Princeton. The guy who started the pipeline was John Rogers, who's my best friend and mentor, and he runs Aerial Capital Management now. He's been real successful. But he sort of started the Chicago pipeline. He got Craig, and he and I went to the same high school, and he tried to get Correll to recruit me. So I went and visited and played, and Correll came to me. We went to breakfast on a Sunday, and he said, if you want to play college basketball, you probably shouldn't come here to Princeton. He was dead honest, and it hurt, broke my heart, but he was dead honest. I appreciate the honesty. So I tried to, every time we played them, I tried to whoop them, and I had a couple. We won more than we lost against them, and try and prove him wrong. And we stayed in touch. And he always says that was one of his few mistakes. He's a Hall of Fame coach and ran a great program. And through John and through Craig, we played in a ton of 3-on-3 tournaments. After I stopped playing overseas, and won a bunch of national championships. But we played the Princeton style. And I just think it's so for kids to learn out, to pass and cut and, go back door, and what's a good shot, what's a bad shot. And so I didn't play at Princeton, but I played, literally hundreds of tournaments with Craig, with other guys. Kit Miller, you might remember, they almost down. And great. He was like a 6'7" center. Had he been 6'10", he would have made a lot of money in your league. But Sean Jackson, anyway, a whole bunch of players. But those are just great teammates. And there was real genius in what Correll taught. And I do think if more kids were exposed to that type of system, they'd be better players.
And I agree with you 100%, Ernie, because moving without the basketball, setting screens is so important. We have so many teams, man. We have so many people out here that want to put all these difficult plays in, and the kids just like, we don't even know how to do the basic backdoor or cut or screen away yet. And you want to put all these difficult plays in.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You're doing the AAU. My son's a rising senior, so he's we're doing the AAU, and I gotta say it's like a necessary evil. You got to play because that's what the players are, but I don't love it. And it's interesting. You sort of like it's two ends of the spectrum. One is what you say of plays that are way too complicated and kids can't figure out, and they break down, they can't think for themselves. But a lot of what I see is this kids just taking turns playing one-on-one. So one kid plays the ball and everybody else stands, and they do what they can. If they score, they score. They get, if not, they pass, and the next guy goes one-on-one. But it's like 5 individuals playing. It makes the game so hard. And when you're passing and cutting, getting wide open layups, it's fun, it's easy, you're in the flow. And I just think it's like, I feel like kids are both too often, they're either overcoached or coached, but they really taught how to play and just play. How do you make your teammates better? How do you get open? How do you watch Steph Curry, whoever, they're setting they're getting open because they're setting good screens. That's how they're getting open. It's not just getting screened for them, but they're overplayed, they go back door, and it's just, you got to make the game easier. And I think too often the coaches, particularly the youth level, don't quite understand that stuff.
So do you think it's when coaches start putting all these difficult plays in, do you think they look at it as, all right, now I know what I'm doing? Or should they just try to keep it simple and teach the kids the proper way? Because I look at it as, if I put in more difficult plays, this is how I'm looking at it as, that's what they're thinking. If I put some difficult plays in, it looks like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's the right question. I don't, I may be wrong in this. I just think too often it looks to me that coaches, it's really about them. It's really about really about their ego. And it's not that they don't care about the kids, but it's just too much. And I just think you gotta, and I think honestly, coaches coach the way they were coached, so they weren't taught either. I don't think they're like holding back, but there's certain things that, because of where you played and how you played, that you were lucky enough to see, and certain things I was lucky enough to see and experience. And so that stretches you, that makes you better. But you can't teach something that you don't really know or understand. So I don't think they're holding back. I just think they haven't had that kind of exposure. And there's often, I think, a little bit too much ego in it. And that part doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great either.
Hey, Liv, let me hop in real quick because you got them right here. This is going to allude to the next question. where did your passion for working with kids come from? Because
yes, I just grew up in my, a little bit different. So we, for folks that not everyone there knows Chicago, but I grew up in, middle class integrated Hyde Park and went to school there. The 47th Street was sort of the invisible barrier between, middle class integrated Hyde Park and all black, poor North Kenwood, Oakland, and King High School was right on the other side of that. And my mother's program was at 46 and in Greenwood. So it was like 10 blocks from where we live. We used to walk there some days, but it was across the invisible barrier between 46 and between 47, between North Kenwood, Oakland, all poor, black, and Hyde Park, middle class, integrated. And she raised my sister and brother and I as a part of her program. She did the work for 52 years. Unfortunately, her health, she has Alzheimer's now, which is a wicked disease. But that was her life's work, and it just shaped all of us. And we were going to an after-school program long before we ever went to real school. I was literally from birth. So I went for 5 years to after-school program before I ever went to kindergarten. And I just saw my life, these are my friends. This is who, we did the academic stuff. We did the hoop stuff. We did everything. And Marcus, you may remember, Ronald Ragland, who played at King, and Michael Clark Duncan, Daryl Ford, a little bit older. Those are the guys who are a little bit older than me. Those are my heroes. Those are my role models. But I just saw in my life what kids who, maybe had some challenges and maybe didn't have all the advantages, but when they had my mother and others in their lives, I just saw how well they could do. And so that's where my passion comes from, is I know what's possible when you have opportunity and when you have guidance and support and love and, the combination of the books and the ball. And that was, my mother worked us really hard academically, but we always went to the gym afterwards. That was our reward. And that was, it was amazing. So that's a long answer to your question. That's where I get my passion from. That's just my lived experience and just knowing what kids can do. And I always say that I think talent's evenly distributed. I think opportunity is not. And so I sort of think my life's work has been trying to take opportunity to where that talent is, be that inner city Chicago or any other inner city or rural America, Appalachia, or Native American reservations, wherever it might be. There's just tremendous talent there, and we just gotta give kids a chance, and that's what we as adults don't do enough. And I'm always trying to find ways to do that better.
I agree, man. Now we got some questions, and you just talked about one of them, one of the guys, Michael Clark Duncan. One of the guys, Kevin Haywood, said we got a story about Michael Clark playing, I guess, as a youth. You guys played together. You want to share that story if you have it?
Yeah, they're just a set of guys that my mother's philosophy was like 15-year-olds taught 10-year-olds and 10-year-olds taught 5-year-olds. So we all grew up teaching, being taught. So the guy who taught our group growing up was a guy named Kerry Holly, who lived on the block and had his own challenges, but was just an amazing and he's gone on to do unbelievable things. But our group of guys I mentioned, I was sort of the youngest. I don't quite know why. One of the youngest in the group, but there are a couple older guys. I'll mention all three. One was Ronald Ragland, who played there at King. Marcus, a few years before you, was left-hander, rainbow jumpers, great shooter, a real good guy. And unfortunately, he tragically passed not too long ago. But he was an educator and was working in California. And when I took over the Chicago Public Schools, I recruited him back, and we worked together for years. So just to reunite, that was fun, real fun. Fort was a point guard at Dunbar, and he followed Ronnie Lester, and just a amazingly fundamentally sound player. Nothing fancy, nothing anything, but just sort of watching him play was really influential to me. And unfortunately, he got shot and killed later. And then Michael Clark Duncan was the third of that sort of older group who was, stronger, bigger, and just, he could really play. And he was like all of them, like, another son to my mother. Obviously we shared the same last name, but he and my mother were very, very close. And, he was unbelievably kind to her, and to see him, never ever, I guess they never dreamed that he would become a Hollywood movie star, but he, played at Dunbar, played at King, went to Philander Smith, and obviously did what he did. And to see him do that well was extraordinary. And then obviously his death was also tragic. And it's hard to say. Those three guys are the guys that really, really shaped me for a lot of years. And unfortunately, they're all passed at this point, and all passed, I would say, way prematurely. So that's why do I try and help out? Why do I try and give back? Because I know how much they shaped me, and it breaks my heart that they're not here anymore. And just whatever they did for me, I got to try and do for some other folks. But those were the three sort of alpha dogs in our group, and learned a lot from all of them. I'll tell you one funny story.
Okay.
Funny stories. Michael Clark. It's making me think now, bringing back memories. But he went to college. He went to Kankakee Junior College, community college, and he came by our house one time and said, "I want to." He said to my mother, "I want to talk to you about these plays." And she was an English teacher. She thought it was like Shakespeare or something he was reading. He said, "No, I want to show you these basketball plays." So I don't know how much Shakespeare he was reading there. She tried to hide her disappointment. We started diagramming all the plays. I just thought of that one. Yeah, but no. Good people looked out for me, looked out for my mom, and she looked out for them. So it was that was all family.
And that's what I want to touch on too now, because you mentioned your mom, and it's a lot of young student athletes in Chicago that don't have, both parents, or they don't have a parent that is well educated to do things to help give them knowledge of what's at stake, how important education is. Some of us, our parents never graduated from high school, but you had a mom who opened up her home and did a lot of great things for the community. Now it seems like that has poured into you, and now you are doing it. And I'm pretty sure you're passing it on to your children, and they're probably going to start doing the same thing. What advice would you give to a parent, who's raising, a young student who wants to become something one day? What kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, and we all do this imperfectly. So I've two kids and a lot of kids I'm working with, and really focused not just on the education side, but on reducing violence here in Chicago, just because it's gotten so tough. And I run a nonprofit now called Chicago Cred, CRD, creating real destiny. And we're trying to work with the young guys and women on the south and west sides, most likely to shoot and be shot. And we have to get our city to a better place. It breaks my heart what's happening here every day. But I think as parents, like I said, we all, very personally, we all struggle. We all do it imperfectly, but trying to really listen to our kids, trying to have, again, going back to the coaching part, not have them live our dreams, but help them live their dreams, whatever their interests are, and find out. I always say every kid has a passion, every kid has a genius, and try and figure out what that is. And even if it's not yours, if you don't know anything about it, that's fine. But how do you try and create those opportunities and that exposure so they can learn and they can grow? And I do, unfortunately, in places like here, I do worry, particularly in the Black community, about the safety of our young girls and young boys. I talk to parents all the time who are terrified about their children's safety, and that's on us collectively. It doesn't make any sense, and we got to make things better. And then I think that you're sort of going back to a little bit the AFB lessons, that if your kid is talented in whatever, it's hoops or baseball or choir or debate, whatever, that cello, the goal is not for them to necessarily be a pro. The goal is to use that passion to help them get to the next level. And just that you gotta get that education. I do worry about that with some of the AU parents. I feel like they got everything riding on the hoops.
Yeah.
And I look in a gym, and 99% of gyms I'm going to go into, there probably won't be a single pro that come out of there. Maybe one or two, and there's a couple hundred kids in there, and that's just the math of this. You were the absolute exception to that. And so I just want parents to not live their dream through their kid, and help those kids get an education. And then that opens up doors to whatever their passion is, whatever their interest is. So not trying to impose your dreams and your hopes on your kid, but following their lead.
And Ernie, I tell this story all the time about me playing basketball. My mom never put that pressure. My dad never put that pressure, saying, it was telling people that my son is going to be in the NBA. I never even heard that in my household. Yeah. Right. And it wasn't until I got to the University of Illinois and I started playing, and I said, well, I got some potential. Maybe I can do something with this. So my parents was, different, and I know we in a different generation too, with social media and kids and parents seeing that these big contracts. If I put you in early, maybe it's an opportunity for you to be successful and become somebody, you make a whole lot of money and take care of us. My parents never thought that. And if I had a kid growing up in this generation, I would do the same thing as my parents did to me. Play the game, have fun. And if it comes and takes you places that, we can not imagine, then do it. It's all you. But at the same time, that education is so important to our younger generation that I think they missed the boat, some of the parents, that some of these kids can't read. Some of these kids can't write. Some of these kids don't know how to talk in front of a camera. Some of these kids don't know a lot of things off the court. And I think we should be worried more so about that. And big ups to you, Ernie, too, because I didn't know that that's what you were doing too as well about the gun violence. Because we talk about this, me and Bobby, a lot on our show about we can't go outside and play. Kids, that's what we had. That's what we were fortunate enough to have, Ernie, growing up. Us, we could go out to the playgrounds and play basketball without, a bullet coming our way. This generation can't.
No, it's devastating. I think of all the playgrounds everywhere, and many of them frankly don't even exist. There aren't even rims up, and even those that are up are often pretty empty, pretty vacant because it's not safe. And for me, that's all I'm trying to do. Is I just want to give kids their childhoods back. I just want them to have fun and be able to play. And they're growing up with a level of fear and trauma it's absolutely unacceptable. And of course, it's never ever their fault. And so we have to get to a better place. And I always say that the guys, the men we're working with, I don't see them as the problem. I really see them as a solution for the problem. That as they put the guns down, they're going to lead Chicago to a safer place. So that's really, really important. But it's I think of the number of courts that have disappeared from when we were coming up. It's devastating. It's devastating.
You want to read that one, Bob?
John Reeves said, Ernie did me and Maya solid when the school bus driver dropped my daughter on the wrong corner and straightened him out. I'll be forever in debt to him. She's now an attorney. Thank you.
Wow. So his daughter got dropped off on the wrong side of the street by the bus driver, and he said evidently you went off on the bus driver and straightened him out and let him know.
I wouldn't have gone off on the bus driver, but yeah, when you run schools, you deal with everything. So I can't say I remember that example. I'm so glad she made it home safe. The fact that she's an attorney is fantastic. But yeah, all seriousness, parents are entrusting their most precious they're babies to you, and you have an obligation to educate them and to keep them safe. And that's just, yeah. So you got to do it the right way. You got to do it the right way.
Hey, let me ask Arnie one question real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, we all from Chicago, and we was lucky to ride the bus and play ball all over the city. And worst we had to worry about was getting ran, chased, or something like that. So, where did it go wrong?
Yeah, that's a deep question, and it's funny. It's part of why I do what I do is I know how lucky I was. I went everywhere. I traveled by myself. It's funny, you get to the White House and you got a whole, Secret Service team. And I'm like, I needed you guys when I was in high school. I didn't need you guys. But the truth is I didn't need that, because I had that, like the community protected me, and I had people and people would get me in and out of neighborhoods. And if there was an issue, and there are times you had to leave quick, and there are times you could stay all night. And just that I always, it's I don't want to get emotional saying it. Everywhere I went, I felt embraced. I felt people looked out for me and they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to do it. And they didn't know me. They didn't know me anything. But I just felt, I felt protected. I felt safe. I felt embraced. And there was, I also felt that there at that time that, and this is probably a little naive, but I thought we as athletes, I don't know, Marcus, whether you felt this way, that not that we were invincible, that we were a little bit untouchable, that we would get a pass, that we could go anywhere and play. And I definitely felt some of that I was never, causing trouble. I was never fighting. I was never going to, that would have been the end of me. So I was never going to create drama. But we lost that structure. We lost guidance. We lost the village. And now you have, for like a lot of chaos. You don't have structure. You don't have guidance. You don't have rules. And even when there's conflict, I don't love the conflict back in the day. I don't want to glamorize it, but there are rules around conflict. You didn't shoot. You didn't shoot in the crowds. You didn't shoot when there were women and children, close by, and all that stuff is gone. And I don't have a great answer as to where it went. I do know that is a lot of the generation got locked up, was incarcerated, and I understand. On one hand, I understand why. The other hand, we lost that leadership. And we lost that structure. And there was it's like you cut off the head of the snake. You don't kill the snake. 7 more heads emerge. And those 7 heads are wild. And that's from a public policy standpoint. That's why I keep saying, I don't think we can arrest our way out of this. I don't think we can incarcerate our way out of this. I think mass incarceration has had a devastating impact, on the Black and brown communities. And we give these guys a chance to do something different. And that's why I think we lost a generation of men, and you had boys growing up without fathers or without the appropriate father figures, and we are paying a desperate price, a terrible price for that now. I'll say last thing, we do graduations. We have cohorts of men. Our first one a couple of years ago, we had 25 guys. It was beautiful. It was emotional. We had mothers, we had girlfriends, we had babies, we had aunties, we had everything. And I looked around that room and there was not a single father, not one out of all, 25 young men. And it just hit me so hard. Like that's what they have in common. That's why they're struggling. That's why they're in a program like mine, that they didn't have that father figure. And so that's what a lot of what we try and do is sort of recreate that village, create some positive role models, and we have life coaches, but it's absent that, good things don't happen.
Wow, man. We do have another question from one of our, but I do not see their name. It just says Facebook user, but I'm just going to go ahead and talk. They said, what can we do to get CPS more resources for sports programs for our children?
Yeah, so I say that for me, the goal is not to create the next Marcus Liberty. That's fantastic. The goal is to use basketball to stay engaged in school, to graduate from high school, and then potentially use that as a ticket to get that college diploma. And we talk about this past year of the pandemic. For me, obviously losing all that class time, that was terrible. What people haven't talked enough about, we lost all our extracurriculars. So we lost sports, we lost drama, we lost all those things that give you, debate and chess, robotics, and all those things that give a reason for a child, on a cold day in Chicago in January to go to school. And I think that loss has been as devastating as the academic loss. But right now, so CPS is always underfunded, and we can sort of talk about the funding structures. But what I will say is there's unprecedented money coming from the federal government now, which is desperately needed, and CPS is going to get close to $1 billion over the next 3 years, with a lot of flexibilities to how to spend that. And so I just think more after school programming, more summer programming, more counseling for kids, more social workers, and yes, more sports, more extracurriculars. All those are good uses of those, or great uses of those resources. And so CPS has more money over the next 3 years than it has seen in a long, long time. And it's a chance to find those things to, again, keep kids engaged, give them a reason to be excited about coming to school every day. And that'd be a great use of those federal dollars.
Wow. Basketball has definitely been good to me. And I know it's been good to you as well, Arne, because you got an opportunity, and I got the opportunity to meet someone like yourself who went on to do great things. And I just want to say I'm proud of you and the things that you have accomplished, and keep giving back to our city. So I just want to say thank you for doing that.
No, back at you. And yeah, you may not have known you were a pro in high school. Your parents may not have said it, but I knew you were a pro in high school.
You got anything else for him, Bobby?
Pretty much no, man. I just you know, I saw you at the gym the other day. I was like, I look like Mr. Duncan right there. And I was reluctant. I wasn't going to say nothing, man, because, you know, sometimes people don't want to be harassed. But I was like, yeah, I saw Arnie, man. Hopefully, man, we can get him on. I was like, oh, man, that's my guy. Liv knows everybody, man.
Yeah, man. So, but
it's great to see you again, Marcus. And just we had a special family here. I still feel that kinship. And again, everything I was lucky enough to do, you probably feel the same way. I think you were lucky enough to do. It's people in the community that taught us and raised us and gave us those opportunities. So it's on us to try and do that same thing for the next generation. And so I'm honored to do it. It's fun I don't get to talk hoops much these days. It's fun to talk a little bit of hoops, rub back some good memories.
yes, no doubt, no question. And Bobby has this. He has a culture. He wants to share. Go ahead, Bobby. Where's your culture device?
You know what? Hold on.
He doesn't even have it, man.
I got it. Hold on, Mr. Duncan. Hold on.
Every show we do, he'll bring this culture device out, and now he doesn't even have it nowhere near. It's funny, man. This guy is funny, man. But I love him, man. He's a great co-host, man, and he loves basketball. But he usually have it right there, and he'll just reach down and grab it and pull it up.
I really have it, man. It's my social distance device, man. It's the world's first social distance device. I call it the Culture. It's a wireless headset and a waist amplifier that I'm promoting, man, for coaches, teachers, trainers when they social distancing. So now when you wear the mask, you can actually wear this, and it amplifies your voice. So you can go to the website and check it out at culturedevices.com. It's the world's first social distance device called the Culture, and I'm the creator, man. Yeah, man, give me a break, man.
You need to give Ernie one of those for free, and let him rock it one time, and then he'll give you some feedback on what if he likes it or if he don't like it.
Cause Liv, you use it, right? Tell him, Liv.
Yeah, I use it. I use it on my coaching, like when I'm tired of losing my voice, so I'm like, this is perfect for it. So yeah, no doubt, Rob. You got a nice invention over there, man.
Appreciate it, bro.
So we know Ernie has a busy schedule, man, and we wanted to get you on, and we're glad we got you on today. And like I said earlier, I really appreciate all the things that you've done for Chicago, and just continue in much success. Make sure you tell Barack we said hello from All Ball Chicago. That's our next one. We gonna get Barack to come on too. We gonna find a way to get Barack on here too, so he can talk about some hoops too.
All right, I'll work on that one for you. I may see him next week in DC. So I'll the plug.
Yeah, let him know, man, that Marcus Liberty and All Ball Chicago, we love us some Barack Obama, and we would love for him to come on and talk hoops.
Got it. Now, thanks so much. Yeah, it's funny. We just saw each other this weekend. Here we are doing this. So appreciate you guys making it. Great to reconnect. So thanks so much for having me.
All right, Arnie. Love you, my man. Love you. Be safe.
Back at you. Love you.
Duncan in the building, baby. That was a good one, man.
Another great one, man. I told you, man. Dude, like Bobby, you go out there, you snake him out, and he's like, boom, I see one. Pop, I got him. Oh, hey, come on Ball Chicago. That's how you're supposed to do it, though, man. That's how we balance each other out, man. You more of I'm just gonna say it on air. You more of a hustler, right?
Oh, yeah.
You got that hustler mentality where you're not gonna take no for an answer.
Not at all.
So that's what I like about you, man. So
hey, look, I almost grabbed his arm like this. Hey, Mr. Duncan.
You probably would have been in jail. Nah. But no, another great one, man. Another great one. Let's give shouts out, man, to our viewers, man, because without them, man, this wouldn't be possible. And also make sure, man, we taking donations. I'm on Cash App ML30. Bob is on Cash Shy Millie. Make sure you drop something, man, into our bucket, because we're doing this out the kind of hard, but also it's our time. It's time consuming. So if you can do that, we really appreciate it. All right. And now, Hollis, your boy Hollis was on here today. Shannon, thank you for joining. Kevin always tunes in. Who else always tunes in?
Curly Boo on here. Curly Boo, man. Dang, I was going to ask that question, Curly Boo. How did it feel for him to be basically the only white guy in the gym every time they hoop? And he was holding his own.
Yeah, I didn't see that question. If I'd have saw that question, I would have definitely did a shout out on that one. My man Clifford, he was a baller, from the crib, and Chef Tyson. Thanks for tuning in. Chef Tyson is a boxer. He gets down with Montel. He knows Montel, Ice Griffin.
Ice, I tell he finna go in the hall again. He finna go into yet another Hall of Fame. We got to bring Ice back on now.
Demetria, always, showing mad love. Javon, showing love. Man, we appreciate you guys for joining. Johnny Willis, Darren, my main man, Darren from the Dearborn homes. The boy can hoop too, man.
Hey, look, real quick, before you get out of here, Javon had that question for the 7th grader. You see it? He said, "How do a 7th grader build toughness when you're dealing with mental toughness? How do you build a 7th grader to have mental toughness?" Javon Sweeney.
He says, speaking on mental toughness, how do you help a 7th grader build that?
Yeah.
That's a tough question, man, because he's so young. That 7th grade, and sometimes I think, like me, I had my parents, knocking me down. My dad would knock me down, and instead of me using my mind to go at him and like I wanted to fight, I mean, not my physicality to go and fight, he made me use my mind, my dad, So I started developing that around 7th grade, 7th, 8th grade, because that's when I started playing basketball. And so my dad made me understand, like, don't use your fist, use your mind. So I started doing more and more of that as I was playing throughout the city. So it's tough now because, Javon, it's not a lot of playgrounds you can go to, so you would have to try to get that in practice, throw different scenarios at, certain kids. Maybe you have a kid that he needs that mental toughness. So you would design a practice around that, to see how he reacts. And then if he reacting in a bad way, you stop him and say, no, this is what I need you to do. And then you throw it at him again a month later because he probably forgot. And then you see how he reacts, then. So those are some of the things that I would try to do, just to see how he responds to it, because it's important. It's important to have that if you're trying to play basketball.
Yeah, man. One thing that I always tried to do when I was playing growing up young, what I didn't have in talent, I would always try to make up for in my work ethic when it came to the drills. Like, I always wanted to be first in all the drills. When the coach say line up, I'm first. You know what I'm saying? When we're doing the sprints, I'm first. Or whatever. I want to be first. So if a kid can practice those habits of trying to always be first, that's a good start too. To help.
That's a great analogy right there of what you just said, man.
Tell them, be first in all the drills. Try to be the winner. Hey, even if you got to cheat sometime in them drills, but train your mind to try to be the first in the drills. Because, you're looking at them kids when they come in them drills, Liv. You're looking at the ones that's lacking and going in. You're like, oh, that mother don't want to really play. But that kid that run to the drill every time, you're like, oh, I like him. Coaches pay attention to those little nuances, I think, man.
Yeah, and then, Bob, then some people don't even look at it like that. If I don't push myself, he doesn't see me.
Right.
That's when I see you. Really, I'm like, man, he's lacking in the back. I also see that leader. I definitely see the leader. You see those guys sprinting and running. I've got kids in my program, man. When they finish doing something I asked of them to do, they look at me and say, "What's next, coach?" Just like that. Yeah. That's how I train them. Right. I said, so when you guys ready to go to the next thing, I need to hear you guys say, "What's next, coach?" So boom. What's next, coach? All right, let's get on the line and we're going to do this. Now, we're going to do this. We're going to shoot 500 jump shots. So these kids are being trained the right way. And that's why when I talk about basketball, when we on our show, when I talk about basketball, especially youth basketball, it is so important to teach them the game, teach them the fundamentals, but also develop their skills. And a lot of people don't know the difference between the two. You know, it's you teaching them the game, but also you got to develop their skills.
Right. Yeah, I agree 1,000%, man. That was a good one, Liz, man. Hey, all ball Chicago, we back up in you, man. And hey, Chef Brian, thanks, man. He said he's gonna drop us a donation, man. We appreciate it because we're trying to do this, man. We up to 95 shows, man, and we're trying to go global with this, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Sir, man.
We coming back.
And it all started just us talking about, you know, things when the COVID situation hit, and we were like, man, we sitting at home. Liv, let's get on here and start talking to basketball. And then we came up with the name, which is even hotter, All Ball Chicago. And now look where we into over 100 shows, man.
Hey, Liv, I look back at our first show, boy. We was terrible.
Yeah, we were.
We live and we tried to figure it out. Like, is your mic working? Your mic working?
You know what? But this also shows, you know, that we really enjoy what we do. Because somebody, if that would happen to somebody else, probably they would have stopped. They would have quit and said, man, this is not what I want to do. We kept going. We kept rolling. We kept getting better. Same thing with basketball. Same thing with anything in life. You know, don't give up when things are not going right. We stayed with it. And I'm not even saying we're the best right now, but I do love what I do.
Right.
Pretty sure you do too. So
absolutely, man. And on that note, I got to get ready to go to yoga.
All right, my brother, you be safe, man. And to all our listeners, again, make sure you share our page. Make sure you go to our Facebook page. Make sure you like it. Make sure you go to our YouTube page, our YouTube channel. It's down at the bottom. Please subscribe and check us out.
Absolutely, man. All Ball Chicago. I'm your co-host, Robert Bobby Reed. And I got the legend, the NBA veteran, the McDonald All-America, your host, Margaret, living in the building. What you finna be on, big fella? I
got to go drop some more knowledge to these youth, man. I have to. It's only right. All right. Love you guys. Man, you be safe, my brother.
You better know it.
Welcome to All Ball. Format unique, all access for all y'all. What the spiel like? Back full of elite athletes that want to teach, and it speaks to the street, so it feel right. Marcus Liberty, a legend on and off the court, to give you what you need. Robert Reed is your co-host. Go. Like and subscribe and follow like a